Hi, I'm John Trischler from Specialty Performance Parts, and today we are going to do a full review on the 2021 Ford Raptor that just came out. These haven't been out very long, and we just picked ours up here a few days ago. I'm very impressed with the truck, and I thought we should take some time to give you guys a proper review of the 2021 Raptor, because the reviews that I've read so far really don't do the truck justice. It seems like the people that are reviewing them really are not people that are Raptor people. And Raptor people, off-road truck people, they are a different breed than a Tesla owner. So we want to give you a proper review so that you can actually see the features and the benefits that you're looking for in this truck and the things that you want to see in this truck, because I think they've all been missed. So we're going to cover those things right now. Before we get too far, I want to touch on a couple of things. Yes, it still has the 3.5 EcoBoost engine from last year with the 450 horsepower. However, I'm going to tell you, it does not feel like the EcoBoost engine from last year. I think they've finally figured out the calibrations and the tuning, and the performance is there. The responsiveness is there. It does not feel like the same engine at all. So compared to your 2020 model going out and before, I'm telling you, this does not feel like that at all. Other improvements, major improvements from the Gen 2 body style. The new suspension system, whether you get the standard configuration with the 35s or you get the 37 performance pack, you are going to get the upgraded suspension from, and there's some tweaks on the 37, but you're going to get the upgraded suspension for 21 that has a spring in the rear, a coil spring in the rear. So they eliminated the leaf spring in the rear, so now you've got that better handling suspension. It rides like a car. I mean, Raptors have always notoriously driven very, very well and handled the road very smoothly. Obviously, you have a taller tire and so on, but you can throw that all out the window because what you're used to experiencing is completely different in this new model. Handling is better, performance is better, everything is just better. So we're going to dive in and talk about some of these features. All right, so first off, let's go ahead and get started here with the outside of the truck. This is not race red, although in some light it does look like it is race red. This is called Code Orange. It's a new color for 2021. It is a Raptor specific color for 2021. Very impressive. I really like this color. Again, I'm a big fan of the race red. I like the bright red. I don't like an orangey color. In some light, this does look orange. In some light, it looks race red or bright red. I'm going to tell you right now, from what I'm seeing, it looks like a bright red. It's just a really cool color. It is not metallic. From some of the brochures and things that I'd looked at previously, it looked like it was going to be a metallic color, but it is not. So we'll walk around it here real quick, and then we'll start touching on some key points. And we previously did a video when we picked this up with a side-by-side comparison on some of the basic changes beside a 2019 that we traded in, so you can kind of see what the key feature differences are. So feel free to check that video out as well. If you want to see the two side-by-side, check out that video as well. So here's the front of the truck. Now you can see, and again in that other video you'll be able to see a little bit better compared to the previous gen, but the grille area is a little wider and your headlights have changed quite a bit. Obviously very similar to the headlights in the other regular F-150s for the 2021 body change. Your bumper now is a one-piece bumper. In the 2017 through 2020, the outer portions of that bumper bolted onto the middle section. It was actually three pieces. So this is a molded in bumper for 2021. And you do still have that overall appearance, and you do have those pockets here on the outside, but those pockets have gotten quite a bit smaller, and so you don't have as much room to put lights in there. Now, Ford is putting rigid lights in there as an option. It's actually a standard feature here with the 801A premium package. So you're going to get these rigid fog lights, but they're the smaller version. So one of the things that we're going to be doing is we're going to be creating some new fog light options with some larger lights from Rigid and Diode Dynamics and Baja Designs and so on that you can replace these smaller ones with for some more power output. Now, let's go ahead and take a look here as we're in the front here at these new marker lights. In the grill, see, it's a completely different appearance from the little small marker lights that you had in the previous generation. Let me go ahead and just unlock the truck so that you can see those come on. So these new marker lights obviously add some style to this truck. They're bigger, they're more bold looking, so it's a really cool effect. So that's the front of the truck. Now let's go ahead and take a look up here on the hood, and you'll notice that the truck has a similar heat extractor to the previous generation, but it is slightly different. So they have changed that heat extractor. And again, if you're not familiar with what the previous generation heat extractor looked like, you can check out our other video where they were side by side and so on. Another thing you're going to notice here, the fender flares are more squared up. They're not rounded like the previous generation. And here is the side vent in our fenders. This is all obviously new for 2021, a little different style. This one's a lot more aggressive here for 2021. We're going to move down in here into the wheels. These are the optional beadlock wheels. Now this truck is not the 37, this is the 35. So the 37 sits a little taller, and it has a beadlock wheel standard with it, where these are the optional upgrade on the non-37. Tires obviously are 37. The wheels are going to be the same 17-inch if you get the 37 model. The big thing about that 37 is it is going to sit up taller than this 35. So most of you that have your truck in your garage, you may not want to get that 37. The 35 barely fits in a standard garage under the door. A 37 I think is going to be too tall. It's probably going to hit. So that's one thing to keep in mind when you go to that 37. The other thing to keep in mind when you go to that 37 is it only comes with the blue suede interior with that Recaro seat. You can't get a different color. They all have that blue colored suede. So for example, if you get a color like this, where it's a bright reddish orange, it's probably not going to look real good with the blue. Some of you may like it, some of you may not, but you really are limiting yourself as far as the colors and the contrast if you get that 37 package. So keep that in mind also. You can get these with the optional graphics package where they have some stripes on the hood and the stripes on the back of the bedside here. This one we got without that. We thought it looked cleaner with just the body color without those graphics on there. But again, that's another option that you can do if you like the graphics. So let's go ahead and take a look here at the side mirrors. The side mirror styling has changed a little bit with this body style as well. It's a little bit more bold looking. It's not as stubby and rounded as the previous generation. You've got the 360 cameras in the side mirrors, the front of the grill, the rear of the truck, and so on. So you've got the cameras all the way around. They've done some improvements to those cameras. They are probably a little bit clearer from what I can tell. One thing that the previous generation did not have is the camera up above here on the top of the cab that aims into your bed. And then you also have a camera now underneath of the hitch so that you can see when you're lining up that hitch. It goes straight down onto the ground. So that's kind of unique as well. As we move around the back side of the truck a little bit more, you're going to notice the back of the tailgate. You still have that tailgate applique, but now it goes straight across instead of kind of bowing down on the corners. And then of course your taillights are quite a bit different for this new body style as well. This is the 801A package again, so it has the premium content. So it's got the LED headlights and taillights and the bliss as well. And then let's go ahead and touch real quick on the suspension. We talked a little bit about that, and I think we've got to get underneath of here just a little bit to show you, but let's go ahead and take a look, and you can see those springs back there where the previous generation had leaf springs. So that really improves the handling quite a bit. And then you've got your upgraded Fox suspension here as well, which is adjustable, and you can adjust that right there on the steering wheel. Now, we'll touch on that a little bit when we get on the inside, but you can now adjust the suspension independently of the different drive modes where you couldn't do that before. So we'll go ahead and turn on real quick just so you can see on the outside. We'll turn on the headlights, fog lights, so you can see those. Okay, so now we've got the headlights on. You can see what those look like on the truck. This is what it would look like driving down the road. You've got the fog lights on below. Now, one thing to note on the fog lights, you've got two on each side. They've put a fog light switch in these trucks now so that you can have one pair on the fog light switch and the second pair is on auxiliary switch number 1. All right, so we popped the hood here real quick because I want to show you a few things. For those of you that are going to accessorize your Raptor, you're going to want to know this. So previously on the previous generation Raptor, the switch wires for the auxiliary switches above were back here. And those have changed now. They are no longer back there. They are located right here behind the battery. And if you kind of look down in here, I've kind of pulled those loose already. They're going to be down here at the bottom taped into this wire bundle, but here are your switch wires right there. So this is where you're going to access those now, right below there, as you can see. All right, EcoBoost engine looks pretty much the same from the previous generation. So there's not any real changes there. We've got our grill cover off here because we were developing some new components for the Raptor here that integrate into the factory wiring plug-in to access the power here for your amber marker lights so that you can hook up radiance and other backlit lights that have that amber backlight for the accessories we're getting ready to release. All right, one thing we touched on in the previous video, I'm going to touch again real quick on, you can release that tailgate similar to the previous body style and it goes down slow. And then when you want to lift on it to shut it, you just give it a little bit of help there and it will go the rest of the way for you and latch itself. All right, so we've got the tailgate down now, and I want to show you a little bit more detail about the built-in generator. So the built-in generator right here, you've got two outlets right there. To engage that, you just push the button here, and you'll notice that the engine picks up speed to keep that generator running. You may have seen some of the news articles here about a year or so ago when Ford sent some of these F-150s down to Texas when there were some power outages to help power people's houses. So that's one of the neat features here that are new on your F-150. So if you've got a generator in the garage and maybe it's taking up some extra space, you can probably get rid of that if you've got an F-150 or a Raptor with a built-in generator. Ford did not release this tailgate extender, make this an option for this new body style. We actually took our old one and put it in this truck. I think one of the main reasons that they didn't do that was because of that generator right there. I guess they just didn't want to block that. And the tailgate itself has changed a little bit, but it doesn't seem to have any issues with that tailgate extender. So the only thing I can think is it has to do with that generator right there. So now that we're touching on this tailgate, let's talk about this just a little bit. So you've probably seen this in some of the other F-150s where they've got the panel here and the rulers and so on for doing some construction or whatever on the back of the truck. That's kind of nice. If you need that, it's there. You've got some little pockets here where you can put clamps in and clamp things down to the tailgate as well. And you do still have that tailgate step, which is very similar to that previous generation, just like that. And there's your handle. So that is your tailgate step again, just like the previous generation tailgate step. So that hasn't changed that much, but tailgate's changed just a little bit here with the mounts for the clamps and so on. And you also have these little hooks here. I believe these are going to be for tie downs. So if you're strapping something over the tailgate, you can strap that down. They probably thought that was a better idea than the extender. But again, I kind of like the extender because it's a nice little divider when you want to pop it in place and so on. One other thing I'm going to cover real quick are bed covers. So one of the things that I wondered from the very beginning, and I'm sure many of you probably are as well, is will your bed cover from your previous generation Raptor or F-150 from 15 to 20 with the 5.5 foot bed fit on your new 21 Raptor? I've noticed some different part numbers for the 21 plus models. And I'm thinking, why? It doesn't really make sense. You look at the bedside, they're virtually the same. You know, Ford sharpened up the edges here a little bit, but the inside of the box really doesn't change. So why a different part number for a bed cover? It took getting the Raptor to figure it out. The bed covers actually fit, with the exception of the header right here. The header that's by the cab is actually thicker on the 2015 through 20 model, and it is just shorter and just thinner here at the portion that the back of the bed cover hits on the 2021. So you can utilize that like we have here, but that rubber seal just doesn't go past that little stick-on rubber seal underneath of that bed cover. So some of your bed covers might be just a tiny bit too short because they've shortened that header. So other than that, you might be able to make it work, but that's the only difference. One other question would be on your bed rugs, your rubber mats, and things like that. Will those fit? Yes, the bottom of the bed is exactly the same from 15 through 21. That has not changed. So any of your rubber mats, bed rugs, and so on will fit on the new model. I wanted to show you real quick, we have our rigid SRL series reverse light kit installed here in the back of the Raptor. And that's really cool because it gives you the ability to have a little extra light when you're backing up. And you'll notice with those, you've got a red backlight, and I'll hit the unlock button here, that is sequenced in with a plug-and-play harness to the taillights to give you that red backlight, ties into your marker lights and parking lights, just like you see here. But again, when you put it in reverse, then those lights are going to come on and give you some additional backup power. You can also turn on the switch manually, and that way you can use them when you're parked and maybe you're working on something behind the truck. You can check these out on our website as well if you're looking for accessories and upgrades. Those lights there below the bumper are not stock. Those lights are manufactured by Rigid Industries, and the kit with the hardware and wiring is produced by our company, SPV Parts. All right, so as we move on to the interior here, I want to point out a few things. I've talked about this in a previous video. Kind of cool. One of the upgrades that they did here on these new ones, the door panels are much improved. They use this print on vinyl. It gives it almost like a denim look. It isn't cloth. It actually is a vinyl cover. It's soft to the touch. It's got some stitching here. It gives it that cloth appearance. A little bit more rugged looking, at the same time quality. And you know, it's definitely a step up from the previous generation Raptor as far as the just standard plastic type interior panels. You've got your carbon fiber trim here. And then you'll notice some of the other things that they've really touched on, like the brushed aluminum B&O audio speaker covers and things like that. And you'll find those throughout, even here on the pillars here and up above on the ceiling. And you've even got speakers here in your headrest, you'll notice, with your B&O audio system. Talking on that B&O audio system, I am really impressed with that. The improvements to that audio system, obviously there are a lot more speakers in this generation than there were before. The other B&O was pretty good in the previous generation. This one is far superior, so I think you're really gonna like that as well. Interior-wise on the seats, I think the seats look a lot better. If you opt for the Recaros, that's great. The only problem with the Recaros is you only can get them with the blue suede inserts. So if you don't get that interior package with the 37-inch wheel and tire package, then you're going to get these seats. If you get the 801, you're going to get the leather seats like this. They've really dressed these seats up. I think they've done a good job. You've got these new inserts here. They almost kind of look like corduroys or something. So they've got that rugged yet quality look to them. They don't look cheap. They look high quality, and just the little touches that really improve the interior all over. You've also got the new center console with the flip lid, so you can fold that down flat. Once you've folded your shifter down, those fold down flat as well. You can have that work table. It also opens up just like the previous console did, and you've got your storage underneath. You got your cup holders here in the back of the console, as well as your cup holders in the front. and obviously a lot more storage here in the center tray. Up above, you've still got your 6 switches, and the panel up there has changed just a little bit, but most of the features are still there and they're still the same as before. Your switches actually have a rubber grip on them, where the previous generation was just plastic. So they've kind of even touched up on the switches themselves. This one has the panoramic sunroof, which opens, and the slide cover is just halfway open right now. But you can slide that all the way back so that the whole roof virtually is clear glass, and you can actually slide back the first half all the way for an opening there as well. All right, so another thing here that we can point out on the dash, so you have your glove box here below. Right above here you have some additional storage. You've got a push button there for some additional storage now above the glove box. All right, so let's touch on the back seat here a little bit. And as we open this back door, I want to point out a couple little things here too. This is kind of a nice little upgrade that Ford did. I mean, it's just one of those little subtle touches, where they've got this rubber trim, this rubber seal here on the outside of the door edge that you didn't used to have on these trucks. So that kind of just probably cuts down on the wind noise a little bit better than it used to. So they've really stepped it up here with the interior upgrades on this new generation Raptor versus the previous generation. And you know, you can see that with the accents here with the B&O audio system speaker covers and things like that. There's your carbon fiber trim. So there's a bunch of improvements there to the interior as well. And as we move in here into the back seat a little bit more, we've got our seats folded up, just like the previous generation. You just pull the tabs, those can fold up and down. You've got the center fold down armrest with cup holders in the middle there. But if you fold that all the way up, in the previous generation, you had just a flat fold floor here. And if you notice here in this tray area where you used to have a little bit of storage here in the previous generation, you've got some equipment there that should have something to do with the built-in generator as well. So since that area is taken up and maybe you want a little bit of storage, Ford has put this in here for you, which is a folding tray. So you can open and close this, and you can lock this in place right here so that you have some additional storage underneath of that seat when the seat's down. But if you need that flat folding floor, no problem, you just fold it down just like that. All right, let's talk a little bit about this gauge cluster. This new gauge cluster for 2021, instead of just having a digital screen in the middle, the entire screen is digital. So the entire cluster is an LCD. And so you can go through a few different settings where you can change what's on the screen, as you can see, and configure your gauges, and you can swap gauges and so on. But most of your controls have now moved to this very large center stack in the middle of your dash. So the radio is basically a control center for just about everything you want to do, including the owner's manual. But let's go ahead before we get too far into that. All right, so here's our steering wheel. We have our cruise control and everything here on the left side. You've got your adjustments here for how far and close you want to be to your vehicle, lane keeping right there, volume up and down, your sync, your voice controls right here. And then when we move over here to the other side, you're going to notice, you know, again, the menu that we were looking at here, up, down, okay, back, steering feel. So now we can look at the dash here, and steering feel, we can go through the different steering settings for how firm we want it to be. Same thing here with the suspension. We can go through the suspension on the dash and change the suspension type that we want, which you didn't used to be able to do. In the previous generation, the only way that you could change that suspension is if you changed driving modes. Well, now that's independent, which is really nice. The most exciting thing is the new active exhaust system here, which is built in. Now you can go through those exhaust settings and change the sound of that exhaust. So you can go quiet, normal, sport, or Baja mode. I think it is very important to point out some very key improvements to the 2021 Raptor that I think obviously get missed most of the time when somebody just kind of blows through a review. And one of those is this gigantic screen now that you're getting in the center stack, which now includes several new features that the previous generations didn't have. Things like your owner's manual. You used to get this big, thick owner's manual, and now they just give you this little supplement owner's guide. And so now your owner's manual is actually in your center stack screen. All right, so to get your owner's manual now, you can just go to Features. Under Features, you've got Owner's Manual. You can look by category, or you can type in what you're looking for. So let's say you're looking for fuse locations. You just type in fuse, and then the search button, and that brings up your list of things that have the word fuse in them. And just like any touchscreen, you can scroll up and down. So that is where your owner's manual's at. We'll go back to features. You also have your driver assist is under here now on the controls. So if you remember on the previous Raptor, in your center screen in front of your steering wheel is where you'd be able to do things like turn the adaptive cruise control on and off, where you would be able to turn the cross traffic alert off and things like that. Now they've moved that all to this section here now, which it didn't used to be. So that is also under your features section. Zone lighting. This is just where you can turn on all the outside lights, like on the side mirrors and the cab. There's a light in the third brake light above the cab that aims toward the truck bed and so on. It turns on that zone lighting for you to get some light around the truck. And we'll go back again. Pro Power Onboard. This is your generator. And towing, this is where you're going to have all your towing settings. Again, this all used to be in the dash area where your steering wheel is, and now they've moved all this information into this center stack. So several things like that. We can go back here to settings. Settings are going to be pretty familiar to you probably if you've owned a Ford vehicle, where you can adjust, audio, equalizers, bass, treble, so on. Under sound, your satellite radio, your clock, and so on. Your vehicle hotspot. If you've not owned a Raptor or an F-150 before the past few years, Ford put a vehicle hotspot in the newer F-150s and Raptors where you can actually have that built in, and so on. Your system updates. It's a lot more fluid now than it used to be. Your apps, they're very similar to the setup in the previous screens, although it's a lot cleaner, smoother, and bigger, obviously, where you've got your Apple CarPlay and your Android CarPlay or Android Auto. All right, and right here, this is your favorites. So you can save a favorite item, a favorite title in that section. If you do, use that a lot, this particular item here, if we wanted to be driver assist, for example, then now that section is driver assist. Unless I hit it twice, then I can edit it. So if you want to put that feature front and center, you can do that right there. Your navigation system, the navigation system should be familiar to you if you've had a previous Raptor and so on. But again, they have cleaned it up a whole lot. The navigation in the previous generations was terrible. I think most people are still going to use their phones, though, for your navigation, which you can do with your Apple CarPlay and your Android CarPlay, so you just plug that into the USB port. Or now, by Bluetooth also, you can connect that sync with your phone, where you used to have to plug it into a cord. So here's our phone. We've got our phones connected and so on, and then audio, and then we can switch between Sirius, here's our sources, Sirius AM, FM, Sirius Bluetooth audio, and so on. So that's similar, but obviously improved. Your side screen over here allows you to scroll through different features as well and have those front and center. So let's see here, let's say navigation, we can have a map over here while we've got the radio on section here, or let's say we decide we want to put, maybe we want our bed camera right here, we can turn that on and have that bed camera on here in the corner while we've got our screen up here with our audio or our radio, or we could have our screen up here with our navigation system while we watch that bed with the camera that's in the bed. So if you've got something maybe back there that you need, you're worried about blowing out, you can constantly watch that here in that camera as well. So again, cool features there. Here's audio. So now let's say we want our radio up here on this side while we've got the main screen with our navigation. So regardless of what you're looking to do, you can bring some of those features up here to that side screen as well. Under your settings tab, you have vehicle now, and this is where you're going to be able to turn off the automatic shut off for your engine running when you leave the truck, so it doesn't shut off in 30 minutes. And your other settings like my key, your alarm system, if you want to turn off those motion sensors, so you've got your dogs in the truck and you don't want the alarm to go off, this is where you turn all that stuff off. Right there in vehicle settings, under settings. All right, so now let's go ahead and talk about the phone. All right, so now I've got the phone synced up Bluetooth to my sync system. And before, you could do that for phone calls, but you couldn't really do that when it came to Apple CarPlay. Now the technology has improved. Ford has made that so that is possible. So now if we go to phone, we can, first off, connect to that phone. And now we are connected to that phone by Bluetooth. We can turn on Apple CarPlay this way. So now we don't have to have a cord plugged into our phone for Apple CarPlay to work with that. One of the reasons that feature is really nice to have cordless now is because of this wireless charge pad that is in the bottom here of the tray. This wireless charge pad allows you to charge your phone without having cords hanging around and everything as well. So that's a nice feature. You've also got the USB ports to the side, but I don't think you're going to have to use them so much now that you have the cordless charging. Also in the back seat here, you can see that center console looks a little bit different from the back side as well. You've still got your ports and your controls there for your heated seats and so on. USB ports, your built-in inverter to plug in accessories and things like that in the truck, and a cigarette lighter plug as well on the top for those accessories that need that. All right, thanks again for watching. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe, and check us out on spvparts.com for all your performance parts and accessories for your Raptor. We should have some new stuff coming out for these trucks very, very soon. We've already got rear kits available for them, so check us out, spvparts.com.